Hey, welcome to Walt's How To's and Reviews. If you have a sump and you're trying to install a radon mitigation system using your sump, but still be able to have water drawn out of the sump, this video is for you. When I searched for it, I couldn't really find a video on it, at least at the time that I made this video, so that's why I'm making it. And basically, yeah, if you don't have a sump in your basement and you're trying to install a radon mitigation system, just go to the next video. This one won't be helpful. But if you have a big old, huge hole in your basement floor slab and you don't want to pay somebody else to do the radon mitigation, you have high radon, I'm going to show you how to do it in this video. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so basically when you have radon, the earth has radon gas coming up and getting into your house. And what you're trying to do is, before that gas comes up through the earth and gets in your house, you're trying to grab that gas and send it somewhere else. So basically there's like a concrete slab, and you're trying to create negative pressure by a vacuum that's going to pull that air, and the air is going to go in the path of least resistance. So it's going to feel that negative pressure and just whoosh, it's going to come up a tube, go out of your house. Before you even put that on, if there's anything that's reasonably easy to cover, I would start there. If you just have another huge hole in your basement floor, like I happen to have, because for some weird reason I have 2 sumps, cover that up so that radon gas can't get up through there. Just Google what's going to actually work. There's different materials, basically 6 mil thick polyethylene, some kind of plastic. I'll put it in the video. It's going to be a barrier that's going to keep the radon from getting in. Now, the other thing is, you might have a huge area like a crawl space and there's just bare earth there, and above the crawl space is some of your house that's testing high for radon. That's going to be a pain in the butt to cover. Luckily, this is off to the side and the room above it doesn't test high for radon. So I'm hoping I can get away without covering the raw bare earth in there, install this, and then test again and see if I'm low enough. If not, I'm gonna have to do the daunting task of covering that. But easy stuff to cover, like if you just have bare concrete in your basement and there's a huge crack where air can just easily come up, just seal that up with some silicone or urethane or something and get that done first, so when you're testing again, hey, is this working? Kind of deal. Alright, so the next step is you're going to seal up this manhole. I put the link in the description. I actually got mine at Home Depot in case you don't want to wait for Amazon. And it's 2 parts, this part and this part. This is the part you need to actually seal to the concrete. This part seals with the rubber gasket. And the reason I chose this one is you can just undo the bolts and boot pop it off, access everything, boot pop this back on. There's cheaper ones out there, but then every time you're ripping up the silicone, you're redoing it, it's just a big pain in the butt, and this is, I thought, would be a huge time saver. If I ever need to maintenance or work on this, super easy time saver, okay? First thing is you're gonna put this guy down, and you're gonna silicone everything there. So I would use just pure silicone, dab a bunch on there, then you're gonna put this over and make sure it's completely sealed all the way around the concrete. In this case, you can go overboard with the silicone. It's not going to hurt anything if you put too much in there, but it is going to be a big problem if you don't put enough in there and you don't create a seal. You got to make sure it's sealed all the way around. It comes with a little red thing that I accidentally lost, but you want to make sure you silicone that up too. It goes in the side like here, but you're going to put a ton of silicone, glob it up, put it in there, and make sure that hole on the side is sealed. If you lose the red thing like I did, just go get a 3/4 plug, PVC plumbing, silicone it up, put it up in there, and make sure it's sealed. So then when we put the lid on here, we've got a nice seal. All right, I'm gonna show you the different parts of this sump cover. So this is so that you can see through and see, hey, is there water, what's going on down in my sump? This hole is gonna be if you're actually going to have water being taken out of here, or have the possibility for a sump pump to have tubing or PVC pipe come up here to be able to take water out. This guy right here is so that you can have a cord for your sump pump to get electricity. So this little hole right here is going to seal up on the cord, and this guy is where you're actually going to draw out your radon air, the biggest hole. Okay, you can see these holes will line up, and then there's a rubber gasket that you put in there. You'll see here in a little bit. Now let's say that you're not going to install the capability to draw water out of here, and you're not going to set that up. They give you this guy, you're just going to replace it right there. Make sure you put that rubber seal on there, and you're just going to pop these bolts off, put this guy in its place with the rubber seal, and now that's sealed off. You're also going to want to make sure this is sealed off. Throw a big glob of silicone in that hole and make sure it's completely airtight, and then just proceed with hooking up your radon mitigation. the vacuum to draw air out. So one more cool thing I'll show you is they give you this template right here. So if you're gonna have a pipe come out this way so you have nothing above, that works better for your situation. You put this guy right here and it shows you there's the center to drill, and then you can use that drill hole. So when you have your drill and you're drilling a hole out like something like that, this is a little oversized. It shows you how to, how you're gonna have the perfect spotting for it. So that's nice, they give you this little template. That's what all these components and pieces are for. All right, so I'm gonna go over some stuff that explains when you're using this system and the sump, some key crucial things. Now, if you don't have a sump already installed, this is what a sump looks like. Water fills up, this comes up like that, it floats, turns this guy on. It's gonna send water out from the bottom here through this pipe right here, okay? Now, you need to have a check valve on your sump. Let me show you what that looks like. It looks like this, okay? And basically, there's a little flap in there that you can't see, but it allows water to go one way, but not the other way. It's a one-way thing. So that way, it wants to send water out, it allows it up, but you gotta think about it, you're gonna have, a bunch of pipe like this, and all that water is gonna come up the pipe. As soon as this comes down, and the water level comes down and turns it off, the gravity of all the water in the pipe is gonna come back through down here. It's gonna fill it back up, turn this on, and it'll just do that nonstop, cycling on and off. But when you have that check valve there, what it does is it stops the water from coming back down, and then it keeps that from continually cycling, going on and off. Now, there's another important thing that you wanna do if you're gonna install a check valve like this one. It's called a weeping hole. And you need to put a little bit of a weeping hole in the PVC pipe. So like, let's say that you connect this guy here, you put your check valve here, and you want to put your check valve towards the bottom, but you want to drill a little hole. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to prevent an airlock from happening. You can look up another video on what that is and why, but it is really important. Otherwise, you might not be able to get the water out. So, again, I'll put the links in the description. Sometimes they sell an all-in-one kit where you don't have to buy all the little pieces like a screw-in cap and cement this here. They put the weeping hole in there for you, put the new thing on, they got the check valve. It's all kind of right there, and it's towards the bottom where you connect it to your sump. So it's just, it costs probably a little bit more, but for the amount of time and money you're gonna save, I think it was about 20 bucks. It's way better to just, in my opinion, to just buy it all together. This screws in right here, super easy. I don't have to do a bunch of stuff, okay? But biggest thing is, make sure you have a check valve, make sure you put in the weeping hole, you're gonna be okay. Another big reason you need this check valve is you're gonna create a vacuum here when you're drawing the air out of your sump. And so it's gonna pull air up from here and put it out there. If you just have another pipe right here that goes out to the outside, you're just gonna create a circle, a big loop. It's gonna pull air in from wherever the end of this thing is, down through here. It's gonna come out here, the gas, back up, and then out your radon. You're not gonna accomplish it. But the check valve, since it only allows water or air to go one way, it's not gonna let that happen. So that's another reason you need the check valve in this instance. Some quick tips. Whenever I'm working with, PVC glue or pipe thread sealant, I always put down some towels, wear some gloves. You don't want that on your hands. So a quick little nuance, you can see how high the ceiling was there. My sump is very deep. So if I ever need to service this pump, I'm gonna be pulling this sump out, and the pipe is gonna hit my ceiling, and I'm not gonna be able to get it out. So if you run into that situation, a smart thing to do is to put a union on your pipe here, so you can detach that, pull the rest out, put it in, put on the union, put the rest down. Just think about that. Just while you're installing it, think, hey, if I ever need to remove this, what's gonna make it easier on me? Just a little nuance. Okay, so you either installed your own sump or it was already in there, you got your pipe that's gonna be taking the water out, and you've got your cord or cords. First thing that you wanna do is, you're gonna pop out the rubber fitting for the cord that's there, take that out, and thread your cords through the underside. Now, they have different, jackals depending on your size of pipe, different rubber gaskets that you can put in there and stuff, get the right size on there, and get it so that it's flush. However works best. I got the cords gonna be going here for me, so just make sure everything, dry fit it works. And I'm gonna have this pulling the radon out that way. And after you dry fit it, and then you're gonna want to take your gasket. You're gonna want to go around the lid and wires and get it onto this outer perimeter. Now it's gonna want to fall in, so I'll show you a trick. Is you take the screws and you start putting them in there until I'll hold it in place and kind of tack it down for a second. And then once that gasket is in the right spot, you can put the lid on and then do the screws one at a time. Just makes it a little bit easier in my opinion. Otherwise, you're likely that this gasket is just going to fall into the sump. Then we're going to put this back on, and then I'm going to do one screw at a time so that rubber gasket stays in place and doesn't move around, because otherwise it's just going to fall through and it's going to be a pain in the butt. There are some washers that go on here, but so just make sure you put those on. I got the screw without the lid tacking down the gasket, making sure that it doesn't fall into the hole. Then I'm going to remove the screw, put the washer on, put it down here, like you see right here. And then you're going to take that gasket and you're going to push it up onto the screw, like I have there, push that up, and the threads of the screw are going to hold that gasket in place so it doesn't fall into the hole. Alright, so now I'm actually going to start putting the bolts back into the holes now that I've gone around and done all of them. Once you get like, say 3 in, I kind of feel them. They're pretty lined up to where I think I can get the rest in. If you push a little pressure down, you'll feel it kind of fall into the hole. It's going to say to torque these down to 20 pounds because you got that rubber gasket there, so you want to create a seal but not overdo it to where you're going to like smush out the rubber gasket and distort it too much. But don't waste your money on buying a torque wrench if you don't have one. Just get it snug, probably like maybe a quarter of a turn after it's snug, and it doesn't have to be exact, but the only time I'd recommend buying like a torque wrench is when you're working on like automotive. When I slid this over the pipe, this was already on there, and this rubber gasket actually slid out, which was why I was able to slide it onto the pipe. You probably won't be able to slide it onto the pipe with this gasket in there, and this is a 3-piece system, but they tell you to actually remove this before you put it on the lid. So I made a mistake there. If you're struggling, can't get it on there, that's why you got to remove this. But for this 3-piece system, on this bottom piece here, they tell you to put a bunch of silicone so that when it comes down here, it creates a seal. So I'm going to do that now and show you how this would be done. Alright, so you throw some silicone on that guy, and you're going to bring him down, get him secure. Then you're going to take your rubber gasket, and the cap. We're going to screw in these bad boys. Silicone's going to leak out on the side, so watch your fingers if you don't have good silicone on. Alright, so here's the thing that the cord goes through to create a seal, and you can see I have 2 cords. So I'm going to use the opposite hole over here. I'm going to punch through there so that I can put the other cord through. I'm just going to use a 5/16" drill. Seems to be about the size of this hole, and I'm going to start on this side right here, put my drill into there, and then drill through. Rather than just doing it on the ground, I'm going to do it on some dirt so that way when it does punch through, it doesn't hit anything that's going to be damaging to the drill bit. So that was super easy. Made a nice hole. Now I'm just going to take a razor blade and cut through, just like there's a gap there, so I can squeeze it in. Same thing here, I'm going to cut through that, and then I'm going to be able to put both cords through it. Alright, now we're ready to start installing the actual tube that is going to have the fan that's going to vacuum out the air that contains the radon. So this is all 3-inch PVC pipe. The first piece, as you can see, is a threaded piece that you screw in. I put a little bit of thread sealant on there, and you can see I'm tightening it pretty good, but we're going to be removing this to, I'm just kind of fitting it to make sure everything aligns perfectly so I know where to drill the hole to go out of the house. Now, I have a walkout basement, so the back wall is wood. Now, if you're in concrete and you don't want to get a really expensive machine to drill a hole through concrete, you're actually going to want to probably go up through the ceiling and the subfloor of the first story to get to an area where you can drill out of the house through wood. And you can even do different, kinds of installs. You can go through the house completely up to the attic. If you're near your garage, that's a possibility, but you're just going to have to take your unique situation and figure out for your house what's the quickest way to run a pipe from your sump pump cover to the outside. So you're going to need, to be able to drill out through your drywall, insulation, and exterior substrate, and you want to make sure that it's not too small that you can't get the pipe through, but not too big that you have a huge gap you have to seal up. So this 3 5/8 should be pretty close to perfect for a 3-inch pipe. I'm going to drill that through the wall, and then I'm going to slide this pipe through and glue it into that guy right there. Now the hard part is going to be figuring out where exactly to put the hole and make sure I do a good job lining that up. I used a pipe here, a smaller one. You could use a ruler or anything that's straight and just come off the edges of the 3-inch and then figure out where the hole needs to be. So you want to go through the drywall and then some of the insulation, and I actually want to make sure I'm not going to hit any electrical wires. Really don't feel like electrocuting myself today, and just get all the way to that exterior wall and double check, hey, there's nothing back in here I'm going to run into, because that would really ruin your day. No electrical wires I have to worry about, but it's a good rule of thumb, just get through the drywall real quick and then use your hand to go in there. You can turn off the some circuits in your house to make sure you're good. Just double check you're not going to hit anything important like a pipe or electrical. If you hit a pipe, you probably feel it and realize something's wrong. With a wire, you might just get zapped. So it's really close. I can tell it's almost angled like this instead of straight. It's not perfectly going in, but I mean, it's pretty close. And as you saw, I can make it work, but just so it's not stressed out and putting stress here and there and causing a place where it can leak, I think I'll use this saw. All right, now we've got that installed. It's gonna draw air up, out, and out of the house. So now I'm gonna move the camera outside so you can see how we can finish this guy up. We gotta put this guy on there, and this guy is your vacuum that's going to pull the air and send it up. I'm not sure if it's the brand I bought or if it's best practice, but I'll show you the instructions say to have a water bypass, and the idea is when water condensates in a pipe coming down and there's water in here, it's going to go into the fan, and they want an area for that water to go so it doesn't hit the fan. Now why I'm confused is I've not really seen that on many radon mitigation systems, so perhaps it's just the brand I bought, or a lot of people just don't do it. But for this particular brand, if you want to install it to spec so that it doesn't void the warranty, looks like the easiest way to do it on the outside is you want a little bit of pipe to come out. You don't want to cut this close to your house. I'll show you why. We're going to put this 90 degree on, And then this comes with the Radon. It's gonna go on this guy. Then your fan is gonna sit in this guy. And then I got another 45 degree that I put in this guy. It sits on there like that. And then you get this connection, and I'm gonna need a piece of pipe in there, and I can make it longer or shorter to make it about the length I need so that this pipe is up against the house, and as water condensates and comes down here, which is more common in cold climates, and I'm in Colorado, so it's common, you have a basically adapter that goes down to a 1-inch pipe, and it's gonna bypass. So the water is gonna come down here, and instead of going into the fan, which is directly underneath, the fan's off to the side, so it comes down to this pipe and falls into here. Now, I do think it'll lose a little bit of suction, because you know it can create basically a circle, but since this is 1 inch versus 3 inch, it's such a big difference, you shouldn't lose too much. But that would be the proper way to install this, so you have a bypass, and then just with some clamps, have this attached to the house to support the weight. And that's pretty much how I'm going to set up the Radon. The last thing you're going to need to do, I won't bore you with setting all that up, and obviously you're going to need a ladder. They do have, this is regular PVC pipe, which is pretty heavy, and they have PVC pipe that's a lot thinner that you can get, that's going to be a lot lighter and easy to work with. Since we're just doing airflow and it's not actual water and we're not worried about the strength of it, but definitely go with the lighter stuff. It's going to be easier to install. You're going to need to have an electrical connection, and if you want to be up to code, you want to have a on-off switch on the outside. Again, you're a homeowner doing it, it's not a big deal, but if you ever go to sell your house or something, this might be something the inspector catches and wants installed. So you will run a electrical line out, put a box here with just a toggle switch, an exterior waterproof one, and then run your line either inside to a electrical outlet, or you hardwire it into the house, you can, but to keep it simple and easy, that same outlet box that I connected the sump pump to, I've already got a hole here from the previous owner, did something. Just gonna run my conduit right through there, plug it in, have a little box right here as well that I can switch on and off, so that it's up to code. You do need to have a watertight fitting here, and it's a 1/2 inch for this model. Alright, so you can see me gluing the pieces together. I used a level to make sure that the pipe going up was plumb. I also put in a reducer for that water bypass from a 3 to a 2 to a 2 to a 1 inch. Here are the electrical products that I used. I'll put links in the description of where you can get them, but to have it up to code, you need a waterproof exterior on-off switch mounted to the wall close to the fan. There are plenty of YouTube videos you can watch that'll show you how to connect electrical components of different things. There's nothing special about this fan. It's just not like you plug it into the wall though, like another appliance. You actually have to make some connections. You can see the instructions say to have an electrician perform the work. So from a liability standpoint, I didn't want to get into the specifics. And while we're on that subject, after you install this radon mitigation system, you absolutely need to test for radon again. And if the levels are not safe, something is wrong and you need to address and fix that. But with this electrical connection, it's nothing special. It's standard 3 wires, ground, neutral, and hot. The only things are it's got to be waterproof and you need an on-off switch next to the fan. Alright, so last little component to all this. I've never had to use a sump pump in here. It's never actually been installed till now. So I imagine I'll never need to use it. But I did want to have something just in case, God forbid, it ever did flood one time and I need to use it to where I could quickly get water out. So I just capped this tube here because I plan on never using it, but God forbid we ever do need it. I just unscrew this cap, put an adapter, there's a door right here, I can pump water out of the house. I just got to plug in the pump and get it going, but I'm just going to leave it unplugged and like this. It's just for accessibility. Now with the Radon fan, the last little piece that you install is right here. This is a little sticker, you slap it on, and then before you screw this in, you can move it up and down, and you want to get it to 0, and then you put a little screw there to tack it in place. Then you drill a small hole, and you put the one end of the tube in there, silicone it up, You can put the end of this tube in either one, silicone it up a little bit. If you don't put the silicone, it still works, but you can see, I'm gonna plug this in and you'll be able to hear how quiet it is, and we should see that it's working. Now this doesn't mean anything with the radon, it's just a visual representation that the radon fan is on and working. So if you ever see this at double zeros like it was, you know, hey, something's wrong and this is not working properly and I need to address that. I put the product link in the description. That's why I liked this one, because it came with this little piece and you didn't have to buy it separately. So you can see now that, hey, we've got some suction, it's working. You can barely hear it. It's actually pretty quiet. I'll open the door so you can see how loud it is. Not too bad.